Welcome to the Cincy Postcast. I'm your host, Kevin Wallace, and before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about our sponsor, Streetside Brewery. Look, these guys are located in historic Columbia Tusculum neighborhood on the east side of Cincinnati, and Streetside is really the perfect mix of just local neighborhood watering hole and a modern craft beer brewery. They have 24 beers on tap, and I promise you, you will not find a bad one amongst them. These guys were great when they had us out for the live show for the CONCACAF Champions Cup kickoff to start FC Cincinnati season, and they do events all throughout the year. They do a pint night on Tuesday nights. They do Premier League mornings. Tons of really fun events there. But a special note to Postcast listeners, if you mention the Cincy Postcast at the bar when you're getting your beer, they will take $1 off of your beer, and you let them know that we sent you their way. You can find them at 4003 Eastern Avenue or in the fridge of wherever you're picking up your next beer. Again, a huge thank you to Streetside Brewery for sponsoring the Postcast. And on this episode, we have quite a bit to get into. We have 2 matches. FC Cincinnati hosted both Monterrey from Liga MX in CONCACAF Champions League, as well as DC United over the weekend on Sunday. 2 matches, all covered in part 1. They happen so close together that it all, 1, kind of runs together, but 2, you can't explain one without the other. Lots and lots of good takeaways. Is it okay to boo Vasquez? We touch on all of it. And then in part 2, we talk about maybe the most newsworthy thing to happen around FC Cincinnati over the weekend. Laurel Pfahler having her credentials pulled by the club, or at least suspended for 2 weeks. We discuss it. We talk all about it, and we've got some ideas. We got some thoughts. And then in part 3, we are answering your questions from the Patreon. You put it all together, you got yourself a postcast. Joining me to talk about all of that and more are 2 gentlemen who also just watched an FC Cincinnati match at Chicago. I ask you, we sprung forward.
At Chicago.
Well, guys, this is where I'm going with this. I've lost an hour of sleep. I don't know what's happening. I genuinely did not make that mistake on purpose, but it bleeds in very nicely.
Man, you're going to confuse the hell out of everyone that's like starting this episode right here. Like, wait, what?
Wait, no. The DC United match at home in Cincinnati just happened, or at least a couple of hours ago. It is spring forward. I am very tired, so I am going to do my best in this episode. Chief, daylight savings time, for it or against it?
Just no. I think that there should just be one time, and that it should be like 1 p.m. at everywhere in the world at the same time. And then you just adjust your own personal schedule based on whenever you need to be somewhere. Like, why is it that every place needs to wake up at like 6 a.m.? Why can't you just wake up at whatever the time it is when the sun comes up? Why do we have this obsession with making 6 a.m. the same thing everywhere? Time is an artificial construct anyway. So may as well just keep it simple.
I am a huge proponent of this, and stay woke, time zones, the invention of Big Railroad. So, only the worst amongst us created time zones.
So what I'm hearing is that if you change your clocks, you support everything Norfolk Southern has done as a corporation over the past 12 months.
That is basically true. It's like
it's facts.
It's like going to an MLS game means you support everything that that MLS and its teams have done all the time.
It's like you're voting with your wallet or you're voting with your watch. Either way,
Yeah, Grayson, would you live in a company town if it meant you got a choice time zone?
A choice time zone. I mean, we all live in a company town.
Oh, preach.
You know, we get paid in company script.
And the Federal Reserve is a private entity, man. Check your currency.
I forget. We had this really long debate while under the influence of some controlled substances a while back. How much more money you would have to earn at your job if they paid you in just Amazon gift cards?
Oh,
like, would you take your current salary or double that amount, but it was all in Amazon gift cards?
Oh. So
you can use Amazon gift cards at Whole Foods, right?
Yeah, you can get pretty far with just Amazon.
Yeah, give me the Amazon money.
It does get tricky when you're trying to pay for a car or a house.
Right. So
that's where you're starting.
You got to start figuring out some stuff as to how to convert your Amazon gift cards into things that are usable in outside the Amazon ecosystem. Like, you want to pay for Netflix, all of a sudden you got to do some jumping through some hoops here.
You might be able to buy a Netflix gift card on Amazon though, so you could have a way. But here's my other question: I'm assuming that this is tax free because I'm choosing to believe that this is like a it's under the table.
You're being paid in Amazon gift cards. You do not get the tax breaks of the Amazon corporation. They don't pay taxes. You would still have to pay taxes.
Okay. So they're still taking.
Will the United States government accept Amazon gift cards? Do I need to start selling my Amazon gift cards for pennies on the dollar, like food stamps or something?
Yes.
No, I get a lot of phone calls from people that are insistent that I pay them in Amazon gift cards to, fix my problem with the IRS or my Social Security account.
I thought they were driving to your house and taking $50,000 from you in a box these days.
They'll do that too.
I thought that was the new scam.
Oh man, some of those stories, man. I mean, that one in particular was hilarious given the context. But like, there are stories of shift managers at convenience stores being convinced to go deposit all of the cash in the safe at the store and turn it into Bitcoin and send it to these scammers. Like, what is going on, folks? How are you not critically thinking ahead here?
Yeah, it's just whenever somebody calls you up and says they need payment in either Bitcoin or iTunes gift cards, you should really just pause and consider the transaction you're about to make.
iTunes gift cards.
Yeah, right. They got a lot of songs they need to buy.
Yeah, it's like you're 15 months overdue with an IRS bill, and the way the IRS is going to settle this is just downloading some classic tunes and just rocking out. They'll get this all taken care of for you.
I'm pretty sure the last song I bought on Apple iTunes, or is it still even called iTunes?
I think it's
Apple Music.
They're in the process of killing iTunes, like as of this month. Yes.
I'm pretty sure the last song I bought on that service was the Marilyn Manson cover of Personal Jesus.
It's a good one.
I think I bought Gangnam Style from Psy was the last one that I bought. Just to play at a party, honestly.
I really miss, and I wonder if there is one other person on planet Earth that remembers this. There was a Zune subscription service that was not.
By the way, I deleted that song from my phone. I forgot about Marilyn Manson for a second.
Damn.
I do not support him.
Good. Okay, good.
Did you hear the story about him having a rib removed?
Yeah, that was. We talked about that in this podcast.
Yeah,
how did that get all over the country in 1996?
AOL was nothing but rib rumors, is my guess. That's just every chat room.
Everyone knew the story.
Just wild. No, Zune had this idea where you would pay for what was essentially a streaming service. You could listen to all of the music, but you got to keep 10 songs every month. So if you ever canceled, you still owned those 10 songs. And man, what a absolutely revolutionary concept in this day and age that a subscription service would actually let you keep the rights to something after the fact.
Audible does that. If you like listen to a book,
yeah,
and then like return it, you can get your like credit back and then just use it on another book.
So they've invented libraries.
What? It's kind of like the man. I almost feel bad putting this out of the universe.
Maybe they forgot. Maybe they fixed that. But like, that's hysterical. I did it by accident one time, and now I'm on Children of Dune.
I also forget it. You have to click a button swearing that you forget everything you just heard. There's on, I think it's Libby or Hoopla, one of those. You can borrow a book and then turn off all of the data connections for the app, so it can never check back in. So you can stay way past your shelf time on that one.
You can also do that with like library books you get on like a Kindle.
Yeah. You
just turn off the Wi-Fi and you just keep it.
Love it.
Curses. They haven't figured this one thing out. It's like, we can't get the book back. He has turned his internet off. We're out of ideas.
The physical equivalent is just borrowing a library book and never answering your door.
Yes.
Right. It's like
going off the grid.
You have to get like library cops to come on and like turn on the Wi-Fi of people's e-readers.
They drive around with a public hotspot that your phone will probably accidentally connect to.
That's in a later season of Dr. Cop when she runs afoul of some sort of one of her supervisors. They assign her to the library book return unit, and she just has to go around from door to door, knocking politely and asking people to return their library books.
So that's what the FBI surveillance van Wi-Fi network that I've seen probably 200 times in different places is.
They're just trying to get their library books back.
It's not just a bunch of people thinking the exact same joke was funny.
Pretty Fly for a Wi-Fi was the OG of this joke. Where that's funny. I think you'd see it 100 times. Yeah, it's good.
I named the Wi-Fi at my house. It's the bar that's around the corner, free Wi-Fi, because I realized I could see my own Wi-Fi network from the bar. So I listed it as free Wi-Fi for that bar, and then password protect lock it, just so that people have to go up and ask them, like, hey, can I get the Wi-Fi password? And annoy the bartender.
That's good. Oh, God.
You see, this is what we're reduced to when there's no goal scoring that happens in any of these games.
Well, there was an own goal.
Was there an own goal?
In life.
Oh,
right.
Oh, well, fair.
Scored by one of our own.
We'll touch on that one in part two. I thought you were just being super mean to Roman Celentano for the Monterrey goal for a second.
No, but we could be.
Right.
I thought you were referring to, the player scoring it being one of our own.
Oh, good point.
Well, a lot of own goals this week that the club's been taking. Nice.
Well, we do have a couple of matches to talk about. I think we will attempt to, or I will attempt to keep it mostly separate, but ultimately we can't really separate these games because they did happen so close together, and the Monterrey game impacts the Chicago game.
Chicago.
Fresh.
Chicago.
I keep saying Chicago.
Come on. What are you doing?
I keep saying Chicago. They wore pink kits. Threw me off. I don't know. I'm surprised I'm not calling them Miami this whole time. I don't know where my brain's at. DC. We played DC. DC United. DC. That was the team. Yeah. Without a single player I could name.
The DC Fire.
the great. Well, we did touch on that actually last episode, so now I don't know. No, Monterrey and DC. Pedro Santos. Yeah. He scored a couple of bangers against us. For Columbus. There you go. It's the one player I could recognize. These matches are linked in my mind. FC Cincinnati fails to score in both of them for a lot of the same reasons. They give up one goal. It was, as we kind of hinted at, bit of a flub from Roman Celentano. They did get, it was an incredible move from Monterrey to get that goal, and it was Brandon Vasquez that scored it. I guess what do we feel passionately about? Where do we want to go first with these?
So for me, I think that why do we discuss these two games at the same time? Why there's going to be bleed over? The bleed over is going to exist because the overwhelming narrative that has formed about the FC over the course of its first few games in CONCACAF Champions League and MLS is that this is an incredibly stout defensive squad that right now looks utterly lost in the final third trying to score goals. And they, in both the Monterrey game and in the DC United, DC, all together now.
DC Fire got it.
And in both of these two games, they create chances, they advance the ball forward, they get into the final third, and they just do not have anyone that can put the ball in the back of the net. So, yeah, it felt like from Monterrey to DC, it felt like one song, just a continuation of the state of play with FC Cincinnati. And that kind of makes these two games a little bit of a bummer to talk about. There were high parts that I'm sure we'll hit on. But right now, for me, the top line takeaway is that the offense of this team is just broken right now.
Yeah, and speaking of a song, I saw a headline about the week we've had. This one was in Broadway World.
Oh, they're back. I thought they shut down.
Yeah, I thought so too. But maybe they work intermittently
under new management, scab writers.
Yep. Not so fun home. In 2 straight home games, ring of key offensive players failed to come out with production, leave fans changing their major to jonesing for goals.
Man, the author of that one was pretty proud of themselves, I'm sure, by the end.
When do you see the other headline?
It is frustrating, I will say, and I will put my bias right up front. I am not worried about this team. I am not worried about the offensive output. Maybe I'll look dumb. Maybe we have a 2021 season on our hands and I look like a moron looking back. But right now, I am happy with where this team is and where they are headed. I was mostly encouraged by both of these performances. I don't know.
Okay. So the Monterrey game, I get. I thought that was an encouraging performance. They are the number one team on the continent by most metrics. They have incredible talent all up and down that lineup. And FC Cincinnati absolutely took the game to them for the overwhelming majority of the 90 minutes. They looked dangerous routinely. They got the ball into dangerous places. There were really only a couple of times that Monterrey looked remotely threatening on the back line. And Vasquez has a moment of individual brilliance, controlling the ball, turning and firing a snapshot off like we've seen him do in the past. Otherwise, the back line was unbothered by what Monterrey was doing, and the offense looked like it was a surefire bet to generate 2 or 3 goals and just didn't. But I walked away from the Monterrey game thinking, hot damn, I think this team's in a really good place. But then you go and you play DC today, and DC is not Monterrey. DC is not the best team in the Federation, but the exact same problems were on display against DC. And that's, no ideas in the final third on how to score. And the team that is over-reliant on picking out little passes in the 18-yard box, trying to thread the perfect ball to someone to score, people unwilling to pull the trigger on shots. When they have opportunities, they're not making the most of them. When they do shoot the ball on target, it is always just directly at the keeper, like magnetically attracted to the keeper. And whereas with Monterrey, it's like, okay, they're punching way above their weight. with DC, this is a home game. If you're a team that has designs on winning trophies, you got to find a way to put a goal in and get your 3 points at home. I'm not panicked. I'm not worried. It's just a trend that now it's like, okay, now there's a narrative forming that something needs to change and be better at going forward.
Yeah, so I think it's tough to call it like a lack of ideas because they, especially against DC, like they got so many really good opportunities. Like I think one of Corey Baird's chances was like about the same XG as a penalty.
Yeah, actually maybe a hint better. Yeah.
And so if as far as like ideas for like generating dangerous chances, they had no trouble generating dangerous chances against either of these teams. If the idea is, after you've gone through the work of generating a dangerous chance, you get a new idea of now converting the chance. Like I don't know if that's like a lack of ideas. Like they didn't like get it in their head. Like, well, I'm just gonna kick this right at the goalie, right. Or I'm gonna put this off frame or whatever. Like it's a really, really small sample size as far as like time. Like they generate lots of chances, so it's a lot of samples of them failing to score, but it's still early in the season. They, we know they can be dangerous against basically anybody. We know the defense is really good. You talked about, DC not being top of the region or whatever, but through 2 games, DC had the most expected goals in the league. And I think they had scored 5.
Yes, they scored 5.
They scored 5 in their first 2 games. They had, I think, something like a 7.2 XG from those 2 games off the top of my head. And so, this was a team that had come out, guns blazing this season. And yeah, they got some shots off. Roman had some saves, but I really feel like there was only 1 or 2 times that you would say Roman was really bothered.
Yeah.
And so I think it's, for all the reasons we've said, an encouraging performance. It sucks not to be converting chances, like the chances that they're getting. But the folks who advance like the finishing isn't real philosophy. It's basically
like what?
Yeah. Like basically the argument is just like over a long enough timetable, there's not that much variation between like the actual finishing among like top players, right? It's more about like if you're just generating lots of chances, that's what you want to see.
Yeah.
And they are generating lots of chances.
Yeah. So I've seen people compare Bupenza recently, and I say people, I mean Redditors. Bupenza
Who are people? Let's be real.
Yes.
Unless you're one of the people that upvotes our show whenever it gets posted to Reddit, in which case you're a real person, you can stay.
Once every 9 months, yeah. I've seen people compare Bupenza to Adi and Locadia recently. And go back and watch anything. I dare you, first off, to be willing to go back and watch anything of tape from those guys. They never got good opportunities. They were so bad at everything else. I would rather have a striker getting 5 good opportunities a game, and sure, missing a handful of them early in the season when the rust is certainly there, than having someone like, I don't know, Santos, who gets 1 opportunity every 2 games and misses it. But I want guys to be able to get open, get in position, get shots off, just to put some numbers to it. XG wise, in MLS only, we are averaging over a expected goal a game, and we are keeping our opponents to just about half of a goal, expected goal a game. It's not a large enough sample size to really draw any conclusions. However, you like the early trends there, that this defense is stout and the offense is getting opportunities. That's non-penalty expected goal, if anybody wants to fact check that, because Chicago's is quite a bit higher, given that they had a penalty. I'm not counting that. That's totally different. So, yeah, I mean, I like where this team is at. Santos started this game, not Bupenza. Like, that's a problem. Alvis Powell started this game, not DeAndre Yedlin. That's a problem. And Bupenza scored a goal 8 days ago at the time of recording. Like, I know it's frustrating he didn't score today in a substitute appearance, nor against Monterrey, as we said, one of the best teams in the Americas. But he scored 8 days ago against, and I'll get it right this time, the Chicago Fire. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not worried about it. I want to see this team keep doing this, and yeah, I don't know, hit the ball into the ground in front of the keeper, or hit it more to the left or right of the keeper. But you know,
we know Bupenza can score. He did it a lot in limited minutes last season. His shot today, by the way, according to FotMob, was a .82 expected goal on target.
Right. Whew. Then why the hell didn't he score it? Like, I'm so
it's annoying.
This is
it's
right
annoying.
now. It's annoying.
Yeah.
Like
yes.
It's
annoying, but there's honestly nothing smart you can say about
no,
it.
There isn't.
In my
Just
view.
do better. Like, God damn it.
Sure.
Score.
I imagine the coaching staff is saying similar things.
It's like you want to smack him in the head. It's like, have you tried putting it in the goal? Like, do something.
I mean, we all knew Corey Baird's career year was 8 goals in MLS. And according to Jonah in the Discord,
if only there was someone who's been saying signing a guy coming off a career year wasn't a great move.
Well, I mean, okay, I don't know how many missed opportunities he had of, say, a .6 XG or higher with Houston. And if he is a career serial misser of sitters, then that's on us. But in just a couple of matches, he's had some point-blank rockets, sure, directly at keepers. But I think if you feed him this level of service over the course of an MLS season, I bet you he can get double-digit goals. But Jonah in the Discord said that he didn't score his first goal last year until the 14th game of the season. So
I haven't seen it.
Right.
I understand that I understand the idea. I understand the idea of, just get yourself into dangerous positions, and then eventually the finishing will sort itself out. Well, the finishing is what separates like good players from bad players. Is the ability to, after you have done all of the hard work, can you finish it off and put the ball in the back of the net? Can you put the ball, by the keeper? And with Baird, it doesn't look like the goals are going to come. It looks like it's going to be tantalizing. It almost looks like Sergio Santos to a certain extent, where I don't know. And then I get they're also in fixture congestion right now, where they play on Thursday, they play today. It seemed pretty evident that you could tell which of the two teams had played a midweek match, and they're going to play again this Thursday. And probably by all accounts, the betting would have you believe this is going to be their last CONCACAF Champions Cup game for the remainder of the year. But I don't know. You wish that it's part of the whole problem with the striker room is that, okay, you give Bupenza a rest and you put Sergio Santos on the field and there's nothing there. I mean, watching this DC match today, sitting down where I sit, for the first half, you could watch Santos as he was playing up top and you were just wanting to scream at him, try and make a run. You'd have people FCC would take control of the ball and Santos wouldn't try to make a run behind the defense. He wouldn't try to stretch the defense. If you have all this great speed, but you never actually try to use it, you're not even making yourself difficult to defend. It's just, continue to struggle with why he's still on this team. I just don't think he's a value add. I think that you could find someone to if all you need is minutes from someone to like give Boupendza the ability to rest up ahead of the midweek match, there are guys in USL you can sign that I guarantee you will give you as much as Sergio Santos does at a fraction of the price.
I mean, at this point, I wouldn't mind seeing Dado up top instead of Santos. Like, give me a guy who can, use the ball, can actually control the ball in the box. He can hit the ball. We saw that today. He's got nice a heck of a strike on him. Yeah. I would rather see that, because at least it's something. Santos, like you said, he has speed. I don't know that he's that fast anymore. He was that fast 3 years ago. I don't know that he's that fast now, and we're not seeing it. If he's getting on the end of impossible long balls all the time and beating guys in behind, sure, then by all means utilize that. But we're not seeing that. I also
don't think there's a lot of value. I mean, maybe this might be a hot take. So, Grayson, you understand the sport better than I do. I just spout off at the mouth. I don't know that I love or need a striker with speed. I want a wing back with speed or a winger with speed. But if you play a long ball to Santos, like at this point, everyone knows his game, and the keepers cheat up to cut those off. There's only like so much you can do going straight up Route 1 at full speed, because you're running right back into the 11th defender on the field who can clean balls like that up. Like, your margin to make an over-the-top ball to Sergio Santos, your margins are so slim to get that in a spot where he gets it and the keeper can't make the save. I just don't know that it's worth it even to have that as like, oh, that's something he can do. He can get behind a defense and run. Centrally, I don't know how valuable that is.
Well, so nobody thinks about like Brandon as that fast of a player, but we know that he can reach a decent top speed and still receive a pass under control and score.
Do something with it. Yeah.
Right. So, and there's a bunch of players, over the history of soccer who were fast and, borderline useless. And it's just, you got to be able to do more than just be fast. And if fast is your only thing, like Kevin said, you need to be like way faster than everybody and getting right on these, impossible to get balls all the time.
Right.
So
I also think VAR negates speed as an advantage, just because I feel like 10 years ago, you could win those foot races and the assistant referee couldn't keep up with you. And so tie goes to the runner. But now you got a video checking. Oh, nope, you were a hair offside. You mistimed that. And so now, being the super speedy guy, you kind of have to hold yourself back. You have to check yourself enough to know you're onside. And now you're not hitting that top gear at times. Yeah. I don't know. Another case against VAR. Let our strikers cheat.
Yeah.
So I think this conversation dovetails well. I told you, I'm hanging on by a thread here, with the Lucho conversation. I've seen an annoying amount of what I hope will be old takes exposed by the end of the season of Lucho's body language is terrible. He hates his teammates. He's not as good as he used to be. And by used to be, we mean like what,
last
5
year.
months ago.
Last year.
This is not, 10 years on. Lucho is 41 and we're questioning why he's still on the roster. I genuinely think that this is my take, and then tell me if I'm wrong. I think Lucho is a gamer. He wants to be winning these games, and we're not, and that makes him frustrated. He is always frustrated. He was super frustrated during the Supporter Shield run when he was experiencing some of the best regular season that any MLS player has ever experienced. He was doing the exact same things. Go back and watch his incredible goal. He does not pass to his teammates. He's always been a selfish asshole. Like, he should have passed that ball. But I also think that it changes because guys are not getting goals on his passes. He's not racking up the assists, and therefore he looks ineffective. And then you add in his body language doesn't look good out there, and you can make the argument for Lucha being ineffective. Am I wrong? Is he genuinely missing a step? Is there something to his game that we're overlooking?
I hate this conversation. I hate people that sit at home and watch games on TV and decide they know everything that's going on in a player's head by how he's reacting on the field. Lucha's a competitor. He is a fierce competitor. He is always barking at the refs. He is always barking at his teammates. He wants to play all the time. When everything was kumbaya with this team, he was still screaming at people on the field because they didn't do what he wanted to do. He's just a guy who he sees the game at an incredibly high level. And he is always frustrated by people that don't see and react to things as quickly as he does. And he plays positionally free. He moves all around the field. And if you don't go where he thinks you should go based on what he does, then he's going to let you know about it. And that hasn't changed. That's been like that. That's part of what you get when you sign up for having Lucho Acosta on your team. And as to the ineffectiveness, I mean, they took away, he took away his best partner out there in terms of his interplay when Barreal left. So that chemistry is going to take time to replicate itself. His other striker partner, Vasquez, went away. So that's going to take some time for him to get used to. And not only did Vasquez go away, like Vasquez's role on the team went away. The big body target man striker that sucks up defenders based on where he positions himself, and is someone that you can play through as you move the ball wide. You can play through that target man striker. That position is just gone on this team right now. We don't have it. I'd argue that they need to go find that. But all that's added up to, you give him time to figure this out. And to this stupid pop psych thing where, I can tell that he's mad or that he's a bad teammate or a bad influence. Just stop. Stop.
With the to add to like the missing attack partners, I mean, both Luca and Bupenza have had their availability affected this year. So it's not like he's had a steady set of players around him in all of these games. Right? It's not just new players, it's changing and variable players. And the other thing is with the body language, and I forget where I heard this, so I feel a little bit bad, but I know I saw like an interview with a player at one point in time, like not one of our players, just talking generally about, players who were like yelling at each other on the field or gesticulating, and the point that he made was that, you're just trying to be understood. And so like, and you got to talk quick also. You can't just always go and like have really long conversations about how a play went, right? Like making a wild gesture with your arms to point like where you were or like where you wanted the ball or whatever, you're getting your message across quickly and understandably,
Right. Yeah. To a team where like not everyone speaks English.
Right. And, like they're already excited because they're running around. So like they're already going to be at volume.
Right.
It's just, I think it's difficult in most circumstances to take too much away from, the players gesturing toward each other or yelling or whatever.
And let's be honest with it. It took about a year for a lot of these guys to truly, be at Lucho's level. I mean, obviously this team runs through him, and probably to a fault at times. There were parts of this game against DC where I was just screaming, pass it to someone else. Just like, have a different idea here, guys. But like, it took a year of Moreno playing alongside Lucho to get to the point where, I think it was against Atlanta last year, Lucho just plays the ball off of Moreno's head. Like, you're going to stand here and you're going to be a kickboard for me for a second. Like, he's got Buka now, who is learning how to play alongside him. They just switched up his wing backs that, as you said, have not been available. And Gedland is just now starting to get in with this team. And, oh, by the way, didn't start this game against DC. So there's quite a bit of growth to be had here. And that is why I am optimistic for the future. If they were losing these games 1-0, 2-0, and there were no goals, then I think it's right to be concerned that the stout defense you brought in wasn't holding up its end of the bargain, and you can't score goals. How big of a hole are you going to dig before they figure it out? We're right in the thick of the playoff hunt. If you look at, and I'm going to be that guy 3 games in, the expected goals supporter shield race, we're in 7th, baby. That's a good spot to be. All right. Real Salt Lake up top. I can't explain that one, but there you go. I did like, just in general, looking at the table, we've drawn with the teams ahead of us. We've beat the teams behind us. I don't mind that. Granted, very early in the season, but I don't mind that.
You don't love, though, 2 draws at home already.
Yeah, of course not.
0-0 draws. You don't love that. Now you win against New England next weekend. And again, for every home and away pairing, you want to take 4 points out of that somehow. So As long as they do that, you're on schedule. But I don't know. It's early. It's not time to panic. But like, if the panic button isn't out, but the worry button is out, and the worry button is this team needs to start seeing the ball hit the back of the net a little bit on some of this stuff.
Well, I said it earlier. It's annoying.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, really annoying and especially with watching a team like DC is now, when they've gone really hard into that Red Bull style after hiring Lassane. And it was also a very stark contrast between watching the game Thursday and watching the game today. Because like Thursday, it was like, this is a good game.
Yeah.
Like these are good teams playing soccer pretty well. And then today it was like
a rock fight.
Yeah. It was less than that. Like,
a rock fight would be kind of fun to watch, as horrific and barbaric as it sounds.
Yeah. I don't know about that. So let me talk about the positives right here. Cause there's there's negativity around certain parts of this team. Some of it I think is unearned. Some of it I think is justified. Positives. The back line has been absolutely incredible. And Kevin, I think, you need to take a victory lap, clap it up right here. Get some, what's the opposites of F's in the chat? Dubs in the chat right now?
Dubs in the chat, I guess, yeah.
Dubs in the chat, because your boy Kip Keller balled out today.
He looks legit, man.
He looked really, really good. He looked comfortable with the ball at his feet. He played a couple of dicey passes early, but then settled in, moved the ball effectively. And I watched this specifically. He is a terror in the air.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen a player for FC Cincinnati, not even Kendall Waston, who consistently wins 50-50 aerial duels. And if you watch him play, he is grimy when he goes after those balls. He is up in whoever is playing against him, up in their kitchen. He is hand fighting to keep them from timing their jump properly. He always seems to get just a little bit higher than the person he's going up against. He is a lot of fun to watch specifically in the air. And it leads me to believe that I think he may have a couple goals in him this year off some set pieces. I was blown away by how well Kip Keller played today.
Yeah, he felt really bad about that one that he missed. We just talked about not using body language, but
yeah,
I think you could have read the body language that happened after he didn't.
The poker face was not strong on that one.
After he didn't get that one, he was, hands on head, just real took it real hard. But yeah, Chief, I think you're right.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say Matt Miazga, aerial duels 1, 4 of 6. Pretty good, 67%. Miles Robinson, aerial duels 1, 2 of 3, 67%. Crushing it. Kip Keller, aerial duels 1, 12 of 14. My man is in the air, battling it out, 86%.
I'm shocked he lost too.
I was a little surprised to see, and I also thought he played well. Maybe a little nervous with some of his playing out of the back at times, some of the passes he chose, but I thought it was interesting to play him on the left to start the game, especially since Robinson has played on the left for the men's national team.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just knew that there was going to be a lot of offensive action from DC at that Keller Oriano side.
Yeah.
And I thought they both did really well, but the numbers that you just read about he had more aerial duels than Miazga and Robinson combined. And they would have done it with Ian too.
Yeah.
They would have targeted Ian as well. And so whoever that third person is going to be, they're going to be targeted.
Which makes sense why they would play him behind Luka, is that you figure that, okay, if they're going to target him as the weak link and he is going to get a lot of aerial duels, the opportunity to head balls down, do you want him getting those to Alvis Powell, or do you want those second balls coming down to Luca Oriano? The obvious answer is you want those second balls coming down to Luca Oriano, not Powell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The couple of passes I was just going to say, Chief, because those stuck out to me as well. Early on, and I was lucky enough to be sitting near where those happened, he's using his weak foot to pass to Oriano. And you could tell he's just like uncomfortable with it. And you could even see he was apologizing pretty quickly on those. Like he knew he goofed up, and then, he learned from it pretty quickly. So it was good maturity.
So I liked that. I thought the back line, and then Miazga and Robinson. I mean, I'm out of things to say about them as to how well they play and how good they are. Like, cool. I don't know what else. What else do you have to say about the two of them at this point? They're really, really good.
Yeah, it's just a shame that Miazga, like most FC Cincinnati players, just can't get into the national team. He's good. He's really good.
They're really good. They're very effective together.
He's not riding the bench at Nottingham Forest, but I still think he's pretty good.
So, down note and up note. Down note, Obina Wobodo subbed off very early in this match after taking a knock. I think Noonan reported after the fact, or I think Carter reported, Noonan said after the fact, that it was a contusion, that they don't believe it's anything that's going to be lingering on past the very near term. So it wasn't a muscle injury, it wasn't a bone injury or anything like that. So that's a positive sign. Never good when you have to sub off Obi at the start of a match, but they subbed in Malik Pinto, and I thought Pinto played a hell of a match. That was the most minutes I've seen Pinto get in a while, and is he Obi? The answer is absolutely not. But did he do an adequate job, above average job filling in? I thought so. He looked dangerous with the ball at his feet. He moved the ball well. He positioned himself well, had a couple of really nice tackles in the midfield. I thought Pinto played a hell of a shift for a guy that probably was not expecting to get many minutes today.
Yeah, it felt like whenever he got into a situation that I thought was kind of difficult, he would do better with that situation than I was expecting.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
Both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. And he's also a scrapper, a little bit, which you like to see. I think he's a fun player to watch when he gets in.
Yeah. Especially given that we did lose the defensive chops of Obi. And like you said, Chief, you're not going to be Obi out there, but just hustling after the ball, chasing loose balls, chasing guys down, putting in hard fouls. Yeah. Like that'll help make up that difference. So I really, really like that. I got to say, and I think this is probably a good enough time to mention it. We've mentioned him before. Valenzuela, I mean, there's not too many guys on this team that you can bump to get him more minutes, but
I want to see more minutes, though.
I want more.
I want to see more minutes. I am desperately curious.
That shot he got off today was so nice. I thought it was going in.
Yeah.
I wonder if Valenzuela ends up like a lot of the Philly guys where he'll get sold to Belgium for like $3 million this summer. And we're just stuck left wondering like, oh man, what if? It's like why
wasn't he playing more along the way?
Yeah, like some analytics related team is going to be like identify him pretty quickly and he'll be gone before we ever really truly get to see him.
What is his preferred position? Is it attacking mid, or is he a forward, or he plays so advanced, but I see him listed as a midfielder. I don't know. He has striker vibes to me, but he's not.
I think he is Lucho. I think he is the mystical backup Lucho that fans have been clamoring for so long. The problem there is Lucho will not let you take him off the field. So you suddenly have to figure out where else would you want an 80% Lucho, a 70% Lucho. Where would you want that? And maybe that's also in the midfield, but Buka does a fantastic job both ways, and you're not going to sub out Obi's defensive chops for that. Maybe up top, but you'd hope at some point one of these career strikers would turn in a decent shift. You're probably not putting him out wide over Yedlin or Oriano. So yeah, he ends up being your first guy off the bench somewhere. But I don't know, Grayson, do you see it any different? Are we too high on this kid?
I mean, probably.
Yeah.
I want to see more minutes. I want to see more minutes. Right.
That's like all I'm at right now. It's just, I want to see some more minutes.
He shows you something every time he's out there. And so, I feel good about him as a bench piece right now.
Yeah.
And he's young, so obviously you want him to become more. But we've had a few other like younger guys come up and they would go out and run hard and work hard, but not really show you anything. And that's not Dado.
No, but he's also I view Dado as what other people, the way I look at Dado is the way I saw other people looking at Halsey last year, whereas I didn't see it with Halsey just because he ran hard, but you didn't ever see him do anything special. With Dado, there have been multiple times just this year where he gets on the field for limited minutes and does something special each time. Getting off that shot today, that was a special move to get that off. There's not a lot of people playing that are backups that can come off and do that in that moment. So
yeah,
color me very intrigued about him, as I guess where I would put that. So I thought he was a tremendous positive today.
I will say Dado does not bode well for, I think, FC Cincinnati 2's coaching staff. Because I'm looking at Halsey's pretty good. Isaiah Foster showed well in the preseason. London just put in a clean sheet in USL Championship. Dado looks incredible. Malik Pinto looks like an MLS starter. Why was our two teams so bad last year?
You said London. Do you mean Walters?
No, I'm sorry. I get my goalkeepers confused. No, London Agatu? No,
he's a center back.
Center back.
So
he's still with the team. You're thinking of Apinono.
I am thinking of Apinono.
You're thinking of Apinono, who did not start for Hartford, but Paul Walters did.
Yes. Okay. So there you go. So also got that cheat sheet.
The time change is wrecking you, man.
Look, I have my political opinions for a reason. Okay, abolish time zones. No, I'm just saying, like, all these guys look competent in MLS. How, like, are we about to get demolished in a couple of years in MLS when every MLS team is playing their two teams in their first teams, and we're just so far behind the 8 ball on this? Or
sign more people, we'll be fine.
Just sign them.
More GAM.
But yeah, there you go. I don't know, Chief. What else was the takeaway from this game and the other?
The other, I mean, it's okay. So the other takeaway from this game was I have been publicly, privately, on here, online, I have been pro replacement referees. I've been very, positive about the job the replacement referees are doing.
Uh-oh.
I've been saying that it's really not any different than what you usually get in an MLS match. So today, the officiating was bad.
Yeah.
But if you are expecting me to revise my take, I will not. And the reason I will not is because we had a ref show at TQL Stadium where this referee decided that we were going to make sure the third team was well represented, that we were going to make it all about us. We're going to, throw out a bunch of cards. We're going to call a bunch of fouls. We're going to miss a bunch of stuff. The ball's ricocheting, that sort of thing. That also happens with PSRA officials. We have seen it happen with multiple PSRA officials. If anything, today felt more normal as an MLS match because of this.
What a spin.
This was the first match we've had so far this year where I couldn't tell the difference truly could not tell the difference between the PSRA refs and the replacement refs, because I was like, oh yes, I'd forgotten this feeling of the referee deciding you really don't want to watch a soccer game. You want to watch me attempt to regulate a New York Red Bulls style, cynical, fouling, physical team and watch me be unable to control everything happening.
I don't remember a game with New York Red Bulls that didn't get out of hand.
Yeah.
Right.
And they've all been by PSRA officials. So, yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. The ref was atrocious today.
Today was the day Christian...
And the ARs were bad.
Yeah.
Like, it was a bad day from the whole crew.
The blowing the whistle early and letting play resume and then having to take it back, that one in particular felt very, very Bush League. Like, that was rough. That in particular, bad calls are going to happen, et cetera, et cetera. That in particular was just like the mechanics of game management were really struggling there.
It felt alarmingly normal, though.
Yeah. Yeah. We've seen basically all of the flavor of bad these refs were. We've seen in MLS matches over the last, few years.
And the best part is if Pat Noonan calls them unprofessional, they won't be around long enough, most likely, in order to hold that against us. So,
Grayson, remind me quickly here. Can Pro offer all of these replacement referees full-time contracts once the PSRA has their deal in place and the lockout is ended? Are they able to dramatically expand the pool of referees? I don't know how you go about becoming a PSRA pro referee.
Yeah, I don't recall there being any limitations on like the size of the staff. There are guarantees about how many matches officials will be offered over the season.
Okay.
So that may operate as kind of a limitation for how many officials you can have. I'd have to go back and check to see if there's any type of rule on, who they hire, how many they hire, whatever. Although I would be very surprised to see it, because those are typically things that are reserved in what's called it's usually called like a management rights clause. And I know there's a management rights clause in the PSRA contract. It's been a long time since I've looked at it.
The guaranteed games is fascinating. You probably could work backwards a maximum number of referees from there.
Yeah, probably.
Interesting.
So, trying to think what else was happening in these two games. Okay, how about this? Should Roman have saved that goal in the Monterrey game? And why is the answer yes?
Because he should have saved it.
He should have
saved it. The charitable reading is he sees it late because of Miazga shielding him. But, I mean, it's like wide receivers in the NFL. If you can get your hands on it, you can catch it.
You got to catch it.
Yeah. You got your whole body on top of the ball. How to get underneath you. Yeah, that sucks. And it sucked. Okay, so let's have a little booing discourse because boy, like I said,
let's talk about this.
Redditors had takes on this. Are you allowed to boo Brandon Vasquez? Let's say hypothetical. Yeah, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The answer is yes. I don't care what the caveat. I don't care what the qualification is. Can you boo this player on the opposing team? The answer is yes. If someone asks if you're a god, you say yes. If someone asks if you can boo this player wearing the other team's jersey, the answer is always yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think just most people didn't want to. Yeah. Like on the flip side, I saw people clap. People around me clapped when Brandon scored.
Yeah.
And clapped when he got off. I think I am fine with whatever your reaction was in the moment. It's kind of a funny situation to be in because of all of the circumstances. But I'm more bothered by clapping for a goal scored against your team than I am booing a player who chose to leave your team who just scored on you.
Right.
Yeah. And like I put that last bit kind of in the most, I don't know, non-sentimental terms, right? That you could put that in, but I did not boo Brandon, but I thought it was a good dynamic to have there being people who were booing Brandon and people who were anti-booing Brandon.
I was not at the game. Unfortunately, I was watching the game in Columbus, which is the worst possible place to ever watch an FCC match. I don't think I've ever watched a successful FCC match in Columbus, so maybe it's my fault they lost. I don't know.
I mean, the draw in 2019 in context was a success, but
sure,
continue.
Why not? Had I been at TQL, I don't know that I would have elected to boo Brandon, but it wouldn't have been off the table, depending on circumstances. Look, you can understand why he left. You can understand it. But I don't think that also means you have to like it. Like, yeah. I think that there is a ability to accept that Liga MX is a bigger league. Monterrey is a bigger club. They have more resources, and not so much even more resources. They have fewer limitations on the resources they have.
That's great phrasing.
And so I can understand completely why Brandon Vasquez would want to go. But also, he chose to go. He could have said, you know what? I love this club so much. They gave me a chance when no one else was willing to give me a chance. I owe everything to Cincinnati. I am committing to staying here and playing another 10 years, working my way into the national team conversation. Although I did love the articles that were written about this ahead of Brandon Vasquez's homecoming, included Greg Berhalter quotes saying that his camp liked the fact that he was challenging himself. Like, all of a sudden, he becomes a better player just because he's challenging himself. But also saying that he's never directly heard from Greg Berhalter either, which is just wild. Neat.
What is a national team manager doing week to week?
Yeah,
like,
during
you should be calling all of these guys.
Yeah. You should be texting them. Hey, man, it's really like a college recruiting thing. Like, just texting them. Saw your game. Look great. Keep up the good work. Love to see this. It takes 20 seconds. Just do that with all your players.
At a minimum, your pool is your pool. And just like a club team, you need the guys that you are rating less, you need them to be pushing the starters. And so you want them bought into the system to be pushing. Because if Brandon, for whatever reason, burns that bridge with the U.S., thinks like, this isn't even worth it. And even if I do well, I don't care about you or your program. I don't want to represent you. That takes pressure off of your other strikers going forward. It's very stupid. Very, very stupid. I will say I was there. I was annoyed that he scored. I think earlier, even on this podcast, I said I think I might golf clap if he scored. I did not clap. In the moment, I was very annoyed we were losing. And I definitely booed him when he subbed out because he did score. Had he not scored, I might have had a different reaction, but he was the goal scorer, so he got booed from me. So, look, we could just as easily go draw 0-0 in Monterrey, and Brandon Vasquez knocks us out of the Champions League. How fucking annoying is that? Like, come on.
Right. Or somebody said online, watching this FC Cincinnati team play Monterrey, man, they could really use a big target man striker right now. Too bad they don't have one of those. Or just how absurd the league is that we qualify for Champions League. Monterrey qualifies for Champions League. We have to sell them our best striker. And then we're not allowed to use the money we made to go buy an equivalent replacement. So it's just like we just had to make our team worse, make them better, and now they're going to advance because MLS will not allow us to actually go out and replace the talent level we lost due to their draconian, stupid rules.
It is so frustrating. And the worst part is MLS will always learn the wrong lesson from this. So the lesson here is don't participate in CONCACAF Champions League. That's what MLS will say. Not, we should let these teams, spend more on our players, or, Champions League teams should be allowed to have a different budget for 2 seasons or something. Nope.
No. So my demanded fix, I'm always a person that believes in solutions or being solutions oriented. I think I want to see Kubo instead of Baird up top the next game.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Noted Kubo hater. Wants Kubo back in the team.
Like in terms of like who the options are that I'm being forced to pick from, it's a murderer's row. But I don't know. I don't. Baird ain't working for me right now.
Does anyone know who plays striker for the 2 team? Like, who is the starting striker for FCC?
Ben Stitz?
Ben Stitz and
Ordonez?
Keeney, I guess. Yeah.
Keeney? Yeah, no, I don't need that.
That might explain why we're not so good as a 2 team. Hang on.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay, so we got booing narratives out there. Grayson, is there anything else from these matches? I think I'm tapped out on topics.
Yeah, so something I've noticed, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't have the numbers on it, but it feels like they're playing more with Roman in the back, like with short passes versus which but he does make me nervous at times with the ball and when the other team's pressing. And I saw a headline about this in the New York Review of Books. Build-ups Roman. Young keeper comes of age, being tested more and more, playing out of the back.
You know what I love about this is that like you read this and then like while Kevin continues talking, I Google what the reference is and it's to try and sound smart.
It's a Bildungs Roman.
Damn.
It's a coming of age story.
So not Redwall. Okay, sorry. No. I just had to bring it back down to my intellectual level here.
Right.
So it
which monster does Percy Jackson kill in that one?
Do you think our first goal we give up in open play in MLS is going to be Roman loses the ball and build up?
So I went to go find the numbers for you. Now, granted, this does not include and I'm going to get it right, the DC game. But steadily over time, his completed passes, attempted passes, and completion percentage as total passes continue to inch up. Yes, so he is certainly getting more involved and arguably getting better if the completion percentage is anything to measure.
He's also passing to like way better people. Like he's passing to Miles Robinson and Matt Miazga.
Yeah, right.
So it's like they'll make you look better than you probably are in any given moment.
Did Roman play with Vanderwerf? Did those time periods overlap? I don't think so.
I don't think Vanderwerf was on the team in 22 at all.
Okay. Just check.
He played with Tyler Blackett.
Okay, that's pretty rough. And I think Blackett played quite a bit in 22, especially during the early part.
22. Less late, but
after we got Miazga, a lot less. But until that point, yeesh.
Man. But yeah, it certainly feels like the playing out of the back will be the undoing eventually, right? Like they're probably not getting beat on a counter, probably not just being passed to death.
It feels right now like this team's going to play a lot of 0-0 draws this year. Like it feels
that's probably true.
It's uncomfortable facts.
So let me ask you this. The first win of the season you see is the first knockout game in MLS Cup playoffs. We win MLS Cup, but you do not get to see a win at TQL Stadium until then. They draw or lose the rest of the season. Do you take that deal?
If you win MLS Cup, I'll take any deal. I don't care.
Let me say it only gets you to MLS Cup. You take that deal.
Who are we playing in MLS Cup?
Well,
that means we would have beaten that means we would have, if it gets us to MLS Cup, it means we would have beaten Messi, and it means we would have beaten Columbus. So yeah, maybe I do take that deal. Has TQL's status as a fortress? Where are we on fortress talk right now? Is it still a fortress if we can't score goals there?
First off, I'm fine with calling it a sort of like generic, it's a fortress. Boy, this is our fortress. I really don't want to try to nickname it the fortress. I think that's really dumb.
No, I don't like that at all.
I've seen people try that. I feel like the club has even tried that. I think that's really dumb. But yeah, I think why not? Like we haven't lost there outside of international cup competitions. Like that feels good.
We lost 2, 3, 4, 5 games there last year in all comps, right?
Right. But I mean,
2 in the regular season, 1 in MLS Cup playoffs, 1 in the Open Cup, and 1 in Leagues Cup.
But many people are noting we have not won a game at TQL Stadium since Columbus defeated us in the Eastern Conference Final.
We beat Cavalier.
That absolutely does not count. That was a
preseason match against
I don't
Cavalier.
even believe they're a real soccer team. I'm not going to lie. It's very difficult to find any information that they actually play matches outside of the CONCACAF Champions League.
What was that fake high school football team?
Oh, Bishop Sycamore?
Sycamore.
Yeah. This is a Bishop Sycamore situation right here.
That was actually the Gotham 11v11 champions from this past winter. So yeah. Oh God!
I'm just asking questions here.
Look, if we get blown out against who's our next home team, New York City, that'll be a rough look. Then we put the fortress on notice for sure.
Fortress. This is a recurring item though in the podcast. Until we win a home match, I got to get a vibes check on fortress status. Fortress game.
In MLS. Got it. Although, would you take a win in CONCACAF Champions Cup right now in TQL Stadium? Would that count for you?
Well, that means we made it on to the next round, beating Monterrey.
And that would
probably be against Columbus, right?
It'll be either Nashville or Miami.
Nashville or Miami, which they went 2-2 in their first leg, right?
Everything to play for, although I think Messi sat today against Montreal.
And I think Nashville was the home team. So Miami's sitting on 2 away goals. Yeah.
So probably Miami next round.
Yay.
Cool. Can't
need
just lose to Monterrey. Just lose to Monterrey.
I hate it here.
It is crazy how different so playing Monterrey was an energizing game. It was a fun game to watch.
Hyped up after,
even though it was a bad result. This game was extremely frustrating. there's like basically, I cannot muster up like any feelings of like joy or anything about like anticipating a game against Miami in the next round.
No, I'm done with this tournament now. Like, I'm done with the squad rotation. We're not going to win it. So let's just, honestly, if you told me we could have just agree to a gentleman's forfeit and get on with the MLS season, I'd be okay with that at this point.
I'd be okay with it. I would be very pumped if we went down to Monterrey and came away with the victory.
I mean,
like
after
the Monterrey,
after the Monterrey game, I was convinced they could go down to Monterrey and win down there. I think.
Yeah, me too.
After this game, I don't know. They may never score again. I have no idea.
The duality of Gary. That's where we are right now.
Gary giveth and Gary taketh away.
Oh, God. Well, speaking of Gary taketh away.
Oh, yeah. Wow. What a transition.
Let's head on over to part 2. Some controversy in the FC Cincinnati world. And then part 3, we will answer your questions. So let's head on over to part 2. And before we get into the next part of the episode, I want to tell you about our other sponsor, Cincy Shirts. And if you're going to sit here and tell me that you've never heard of Cincy Shirts, I'm going to sit here and tell you I don't believe you, because these guys have been with FC Cincinnati from the very beginning. And we here at The Post, well, we are just huge fans of their work. They have tons of really cool FC Cincinnati gear, shirts, hoodies, hats, all sorts of cool stuff. Go over to their website, check out what they are selling. You want to go to cincyshirts.com. That is Cincy with a Y, or you can just click the link in the description of this episode. And when you go there, use the promo code ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps, and they will knock 10% off your next order. They have MLS and MLSPA licensed FCC gear available online or in their 3 retail locations in Hyde Park, Fort Mitchell, or Loveland. And I can attest to this. I've used this before. If they don't have your size on the shelf, they can probably print you one on the spot in the store. So again, huge thank you to Cincy Shirts for sponsoring the podcast, and a huge thank you to you, dear listener, for using that promo code. All right, we are back, and we are getting into a fun subject, I think.
Is it?
No. This is a rough one. In an off season and early part of a season where Major League Soccer has seemingly stepped on every rake possible in its path, FC Cincinnati appeared to be mostly on the right side of things, if the club is to be believed on how they voted on the Open Cup position and things like that. However, we find out earlier today before I almost said Chicago, before the DC match.
We should just go with it at this point. Let's see if we can gaslight everyone into thinking we just played Chicago this weekend.
We find out from Laurel Pfahler over at Queen City Press, independent outlet. Laurel has been covering the team for a number of years now, backed by Patreon subscribers, patrons there. FC Cincinnati suspended Laurel's credentials for 2 weeks for a matter that at the time of taping, we are not exactly clear on. There's plenty to hypothesize and speculate on, but no official word or even hashtag inside source telling us anything about what may have happened. Very concerning for a team, and any team in MLS, that has always, lacked media attention. This is a club that literally pays for an infomercial spot on local news to get into the local news sphere. This is a team that has tried desperately to build bridges with various media partners in the city, and yet an independent outlet, a woman-owned independent news outlet, gets their credentials suspended for 2 weeks for, again, unclear reasons. Now, information and things may change after the taping of this, but at this moment, this looks like, to me, speaking for me, this looks really bad from the club and is a worrying trend, I think, of MLS choosing unnecessary battles and then losing those unnecessary battles. I don't know, Chief. What was your reaction when you heard this news?
Just so you don't know what happens or what was done. And so part of not wanting to really dive into this feet first is just not knowing. And you never want to react in a vacuum and go hard one way only to find out that, oh, there was all sorts of things I didn't know about this way or this way. Having said that, just in the abstract, this league is desperate for people to pay attention to it. It's behind a paywall now on Apple TV. It's not like you can stumble across these games flipping through the channels. Unless you're at a bar that specifically has an Apple TV subscription, you're not likely to see the games out and about. It feels intuitively like MLS and MLS teams should be bending over backwards for anyone that is willing to pay attention and write content and cover this team. So, I don't know, short of shooting a player at training, I don't know that there's a lot that should get your credentials pulled for covering the team. Now, if you are doing things the team doesn't like, writing things the team doesn't like, you know, part of that is just the fact that, like, look, that's the job of a reporter. The job of a reporter is to write things that occasionally piss you off if you're a company or a sports team. That's the difference between a writer, a journalist, and a publicist. The journalist doesn't owe you anything other than what they think will interest their readers and whatever they think they want to report on and put out there. But the idea of saying to someone that's willing to cover you, no, for a league like MLS, I don't get it. And the other part of this too is that you watched as just about everyone rallied to Laurel's defense in the media. Like, this is sports journalism is a small world. It really is. There's a very select number of few people that are part of credentialed media. Like, what we do is nonsense. We're not credentialed media. The credentialed media sphere is really, really small. And you're just not going to win a fight with all of them. It's the old Mark Twain line. Never pick a fight with someone who buys their ink by the barrel. You're always going to lose a fight with the media. No one wins this fight. And I don't understand. There just had to have been a better way to handle whatever the issue was between her and the club. And it's just, as it looks right now, it is a bad look for the league that they're shutting out independent media.
Yeah.
And Grayson, the team specifically, not just the league, the team.
But yeah, specifically here, this is between her and FC Cincinnati. But I don't know, Grayson, what were your thoughts on hearing this news for the first time?
Yeah, so when I first saw it, I mean, I was pretty quick to put out the free Laurel tweet.
Yeah.
I got the email because I subscribed to Laurel's content, read the letter, and you know, like, Kevin, you said the reasons were unclear. I mean, the reasons are unstated. Like, it's not just that they're unclear, it's that we don't have them. Should I restart?
Restart your thought.
Okay. Yeah, so you know, I found out by getting the email from Laurel's Patreon, and you know, Kevin, you said the reasons were unclear. I think the reasons were unstated.
Oh, fair.
they've been unstated. I've, like many people, speculated about, you know, what might this have been. None of the, so it's not clear to me from the face of any of the stuff that Laurel's published what would merit a 2-week suspension. The media who have commented on it all seem to be, and maybe they all like have some more information about this, but they all seem to be, you know, the team being mad about a story that a reporter writes. And maybe that's the case, but like that's not out there, you know? And and I've seen a lot of people be like, well, if you don't like what reporters write, don't do stupid things. I'm like, well, what have they done that was stupid recently except for this thing?
Yeah. Right.
And I'm not saying, you know, like you could probably come up with some scenarios that would make this seem less stupid. But when it comes out like this, you know, this is coming from the team's perspective. And you know that based on once that information comes out, just by virtue of that being basically the only information out, there's a very clear virtue to signal. And it's don't cut off media access, just because, a reporter writes something you don't like, which again, like, we don't know for the fact that that's necessarily the case. I'm sure it has, whatever the reason is, I'm sure it has some relationship to something that Laurel wrote that I'm just missing, whatever pissed somebody off.
Or maybe it's yet to be published. Maybe she's working on the grand expose. But
maybe it's yet to be published.
It just doesn't seem that way. I mean, because it's always like, this is this dance that sports writers do, where there's a line between, she has to, Pat Brennan's the same way. All the people that work with the Bengals, all the beat writers in that sphere, you have to work with the team on a daily basis. And so I would find it really hard to believe that there was some scathing expose that was about to come out. I mean, for all we know, it's something was told that was under embargo and that reached the wrong hands, or, there's all sorts of backroom ethics when it comes to journalism. Like somebody said something and it was supposed to be on background, but instead it got attributed to someone directly. And then there was a refusal to change the quote. I don't know what it is. There's a billion little journalism things that could be at fault here. I just think my position is on this, that unless it is super egregious, and nothing that I can think of is super egregious. Like, look, you cannot like what Laurel reports. You cannot like what Pat Brennan reports. You can not like this podcast. You can not like CST. I mean, not everything is for everyone. It doesn't have to be. And I know not everything is for everyone because I've seen what our download numbers look like. We are not for everyone. That's just a thing.
We're barely for someone.
We're barely for us. Let's be honest. You cannot like what Laurel reports. And look, I have been critical of some of the things Laurel has reported. I've been critical of, and we've been critical, I think Grayson has been there with me on this, like we've been critical of what I perceive to be as some unquestioning recitation of talking points from interested parties without that being fully disclosed. I think during the PSRA Matt Miazga thing, I think we came after Laurel a little bit saying, you are just being a mouthpiece for the PSRA. You can have those thoughts about how she reports, but it's unquestioned that she provides a service to the FC Cincinnati community. And it's unquestioned that she provides a service to FC Cincinnati as well by helping to keep people talking and engaged with this club. And to me, this feels like something that if you are offended by something she said, or if you didn't like something she said, or you don't like the way it was reported, part of being the multi-billion-dollar corporation is sort of swallowing it, taking the high road, and then just, doing what all, good people in business do, and that's leak better stories to her competitor without telling anyone.
Well, yeah, so that's, I think what you said was all, I might not have used all the same words that you used, but I think it was all basically right in my view. But I think an issue that the team has struggled with is, Laurel was getting information from the PSRA. She's allowed to.
Yeah.
They're a participant in the story.
Yeah,
Right?
somebody should. Yes.
It's not her fault that, I mean, people, right? You could say like maybe stuff shouldn't have been written a certain way, or logical leaps are taken that aren't really justified by the reported facts, or like you could quibble with somebody's story. And I think that I have like kind of one other related point on that, but you can quibble with the story, but like the solution to the PSRA, let's say in the Miazga situation, being the only side getting their story out, is to put your story out. Same with some of the talk where, player agents, and this is not the only team where players' agents put stuff in the media.
Yeah.
Like, there's a way to deal with that without saying you're, as a professional, not allowed to talk to people that we don't want you to talk about, that we don't control.
Right.
Like, and you see it done a little bit better, I think, in the current labor dispute between Pro and the PSRA.
Mm-hmm.
Where the PSRA, I mean, the way it seems to be, is the PSRA is giving stuff to the Athletic, and Pro/MLS is giving stuff to Jeff Carlisle at ESPN.
Yep.
And both sides are getting their stories out. And you can read both things and you get kind of the fuller picture. But like, and they're going to run into that situation here too, where like everyone's got Laurel's, not her full side, but everyone's got her message, and it's very, very difficult to imagine, in my view, to take the team side based on the disclosed information.
Yeah.
And back on like the quality of the coverage, like I subscribe for a reason. Laurel puts a lot of information out that not everybody else always puts out, because that's the virtue of having multiple people covering the team, is people get attracted to different facts. They dig different things up. You get more information. There was a certain amount of sanctimony, I thought, from like journalists using, I think, kind of over the top dramatic language about like somebody, being like just using like very high minded language that I don't really think is appropriate in like sports writing, like to apply to sports writing.
Right. We're not covering the president or Congress or something here,
right.
folks.
Yeah, you haven't been expelled from the White House briefing room or anything like that here.
Like nobody's like they're not like wearing a helmet to the games and like ducking bullets.
Well, maybe you should with some of those shots Bopenza took today.
Hey.
And I like that they do it for sure.
Yeah.
But like Laurel's entitlement to a credential isn't really, I don't think it weighs that much on like what anybody thinks about her reporting. She's got like 1,000 people who pay her money every month for her content. She's a well-known voice. She's got connections in national media and in the soccer world. She has made herself somebody who merits a credential just by virtue of making herself that person,
And by
right.
meriting,
and you can't just like look at it and be like, oh, I like her coverage or I don't like her coverage, so that determines how I feel about her getting this credential. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, and not only that too, but like the fact that she does have a following, people clearly like her content. I like her content. I subscribe to Laurel. Get her emails. There's just so few people like that in MLS. Like there is alarmingly few people who have managed to cultivate an audience for themselves as a trusted reporter, like a fact-based reporter. This isn't punditry. This isn't, somebody else gets the facts, I write the narrative and spin this. Is like, no, she's at training, she's at matches, she's asking questions of the coaching staff. I just don't, there aren't enough people it's like our striker room. I want to cut Sergio Santos. We can't do it because there's nobody else. It's right. Empty. The MLS writers room is so alarmingly small that cutting anyone off just seems so stupid. It's just a stupid, unforced move by the club, unless we find out there was some great reason for it. And apparently, this is not unique to Cincinnati. There have been other clubs that have been doing this.
I think the Athletic got suspended from covering Inter Miami for a period of time. And because the Athletic is, obviously that's the union busting arm of the New York Times.
But a pretty loud voice in American soccer, nonetheless.
Probably now on what Chief just said, right? There is this part in her article where she says, for the next 2 weeks, FC Cincinnati has only one regular reporter who is not paid by the team asking questions at practices. For perspective, I have one of 9 local beat writers regularly at Bengals press conferences. And there's not quantity around MLS, and you need quantity to have any quality. Now, I do want to push back on this piece. I do feel like this is a little bit of an unwarranted call out of Carter, who puts out good content, I think.
Yes.
And, MLS isn't the only league that has league or club media. And some of those 9 local beat writers at the Bengals press conference are employees of the Bengals or NFL, right? So, I think it's fair if we're going to say 9 for the Bengals press conference, we can say 3 for FC Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And, we want more. I think there've been a couple of other voices there at some of the post-game press conferences, but you want this to grow. And Laurel has been one of the people making it grow for the last couple of years.
You can't grow if you take away your base, right? You can't keep a 1 in, 1 out policy and call it growth because you have new voices there. You want more voices. And
sorry, we've talked about it. Kevin, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say,
frustrated.
No, it's very frustrating. The fact that it's 2 weeks is almost absurd to me. If it is so light that it's just a 2-week slap on the wrist, why are you doing this? Are you sending a message to Pat Brennan? What are you trying to accomplish here? If it is an egregious breach of trust, it should be a year, right? Why would you take a tiny measure here? Or it's a stern conversation. And you do the soft ban. You stop the news doesn't quite make it to Laurel as fast as it does to Pat or something like that. But this is also the problem with cultivating a media environment with only 2 writers, because now anything you do that is helping Pat out is necessarily hurting Laurel. And now you've sort of made Pat an accessory in your weird war against Laurel. And it's not clear he wants to participate in this. I don't think I'm the only person who noticed he didn't tweet at all during this game. I don't think you're going to get a ton of sympathy from Pat Brennan here from pulling credentials from a reporter, because if you do it to Pat, he loses his job. And he's not going to be a big fan of this move. This isn't a fun weapon for the club to have in their pocket and to be using it in such a weird way. This is deploying a tactical nuke out in the ocean just to say you got it. It's whoa, hey, man, if you can't go use the nuclear weapon.
It also puts Pat in a wonderful position, too, and I feel bad for him, is that this is kind of the newsiest thing that happened today after a 0-0 draw. Do you cover this?
Awful Announcing picked this up.
Yep, it's great. It's going great, club. You nailed it.
Yeah,
has Defector jumped on it yet?
For what it's worth as well, Laurel did point this out. I believe this is Laurel. Please correct me if I have this wrong. She cited the notice of credential use conditions from MLSsoccer.com, indicating that she had not violated anything in there. So if there was some sort of...
She said she hadn't been accused of violating.
Or accused of it. Okay, fair enough. It could very well be that. Which, again, the club could have sent out a 3-sentence press release saying, we have a reporter that violated this. We're dealing with it. In the meantime, suspending credential. Hey, you know what? You would have saved yourself a lot of PR heartache over this weekend.
This actually is, the timing of this is just so interesting because I don't know if anybody else read this. I did share it on Twitter, but the writer Kate Wagner, who people may know from McMansion Hell, wrote an article about the Austin F1 race that she had been commissioned to write by Road and Track magazine, and it was up for like a day on the website.
Maybe even
and Road
less.
and Track pulled it. And now it's on a website called Escape Collective, which you can read it in full by signing up, but it's not, you don't pay anything. You just sign up for a access. Give them like your Hotmail email address or whatever. But she goes into like the relation, like what sports and sponsors like need from journalists, how like the F1 race was like basically not like bribing journalists, but giving them a bunch of like nice stuff and access and favors to make them feel like part of it. And she had a line there at the end that was like, so the big sponsor was like Ineos, which is a petroleum company. And she said something about, it was basically like Ineos does all this stuff because they want you to write about them in a way that doesn't mention anything about their like business and business practices. So they like butter up the journalists, and they want you to associate them with like F1. Like Aramco wants you to associate it with, I don't know if people saw this Thursday on the billboards. Aramco is all around the outside of the field during the Champions League games because they want you to think about Aramco and associated with like your favorite soccer team, and not like the royal family of Saudi Arabia's $1 trillion company.
Right.
Which
like
I always find...
They have Qatar Airlines or Qatar Airways, like that I don't think has a flight within 500 miles of Cincinnati. But hey, if the first thing you think of when you see Qatar is one of those planes they serve you caviar and you have your own seat with a shower attached to it, then hey, that's better than maybe other stories you read about the kingdom of Qatar.
Yeah, but Laurel could have written about the game today, which she did briefly, but a lot of people are writing about her credentials instead.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like not like the story is becoming now pulling the credentials. And I don't think it's going to go away, at least in the next week or two. And to even start to get to like neutral on the issue, I think the club has a lot of work to do. And you would think
so weird.
You would think that they would have had some kind of plan. It's almost like disappointing that it's gone this long. that this is how they did it, right?
Right.
But maybe that's also an indication that they're just not really in a very justifiable position on it.
Yeah, could be. It's just also like
it's a crazy thing for John to do all on his own without any direction.
And there's the Grayson cut right there. Just why does not, okay, this is a rhetorical question, so maybe nobody answers this. Why are there rules for being credentialed at MLS matches? Like, shouldn't it?
This is my question. Who gives a shit? Unless you were being well and truly bad behavior at a press conference. Right. Or, I mean, at this point, you'd tolerate a little bit of cheering if it meant you got some more people in there. Who are you going to offend? Jeff Goff at the post? Like, he'll survive.
Not Jeff Goff at the post.
Oh, the Like the Cincinnati Post?
Stephen Goff?
Stephen
At
Goff.
the Washington Post?
Oh, Stephen
Yeah.
Goff of the Washington Post.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Did you say Jeff Goff?
Jeff Goff. What a great name. Geoff. What an all-time name Jeff Goff would be.
Is it too late to change Grayson as your pseudonym? Because Jeff Goff is electric. Grayson Goff, GGG.
I mean, you could see like the NFL, right, has people not banging down their door trying to cover the league.
Right.
So credentialing for the NFL or for, like F1 or something, it's a way for just managing the number of people who you have to deal with.
But what's the difference between 9 outlets asking questions and 12 outlets asking questions? Like, assuming there isn't a repeat question, more questions are better. Like, I understand there's a time commitment and things like that, but like, why would you not be encouraging every single little rinky-dink blog and independent journalist to an extent? But
here's a part of this that may get people mad at me.
Please.
Is credentialed media likes being credentialed media.
Sure.
Yeah. And they like that other people are not credentialed media.
No, they like being
that's
big
why
journos.
That's why you've seen multiple MLS journalists complain about like the not CST specifically, but like the CST type outlets that are fan run being in press boxes. You had the guy complaining about local Cincinnati TV journalists like not observing like the press box etiquette during the Super Bowl and I had a situation when I was a student journalist working for a professional outlet but as an intern, and there was a very prominent at the time politician who was running for a very high office, and he also had a book come out. And I got access to this fundraiser and this press conference where there was like me and like local, not Cincinnati, but another city journalists being able to ask this politician some questions. And when I walked into that room, I got looks I very much got the impression that like they saw me, they didn't recognize me, and they thought like I was not supposed to be there, which I thought was like an extra ironic because after he left, one of his staffers came out and he's like, "Oh, and if anybody's brought any books to sign, I can take those back and bring them back to you." And I thought it was like, "Oh, you guys are getting the book signed by this guy because this is a little feather in your cap that you're getting to, that you've met him and you're going to have this little memento." Because there is like a status aspect to it. So if you credential a lot of people, it could annoy some of the people at the bigger outlets.
Right.
But
in this case, it's Pat and Laurel.
In this case, it's Pat and Laurel. Like, yeah, they should just be credentialing all types of people because they should be courting people to give them coverage. Yeah.
And to just like big picture it for a second and to get on an idealistic white horse for a moment, if it is in fact about a story that the team doesn't like because it paints them in a negative way, which is a theory out there, don't think we.
By the way,
yeah, I knew this story. Well done. But if it is about a story that makes the team look bad, that's ultimately a net positive because it means people will talk about your team. And dare I suggest, the team could learn lessons from it and try to not do the thing that makes them look bad. Like, that's kind of the point of journalism, is to hold institutions, people, etc. to account so that they stop doing the bad things. And that's a big missing piece of this whole democracy dies in darkness. Like, it means actually holding people's feet to the fire so that the public then have a response to that and shame, etc., into doing the right thing. So just like, it's okay if you guys did a bad thing, let the bad story come out and then explain to the people why you're better now, and things get better. That's how we live in a society. I'll say it. So there you go.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not good. This is just, I know it's one of those things where you want to feel good about your club that you root for, and then they do dumb shit like this. And it's just like, don't do this.
Yeah.
Don't do this. It's been a while since they've done one of these, though. So I guess that's a positive sign.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
true.
I think it would have been justified to like pull ESPN's credential after that Jeff Carlisle hit piece on birding a couple years ago. But the fact of the matter is, ESPN's not interested in sending a beat reporter to cover FC Cincinnati games.
Right.
Yeah, which is hilarious to think that maybe they had one, in an alternate timeline, and FCC would have kicked out ESPN because they wrote a mean thing. It's just so stupid. ESPN cares about you. This is a good moment.
So if you're the team, do you restore a credential on Monday, or at this point, do you have to, see it out for 2 weeks? Otherwise, you lose face.
I think I'm not advocating for this. Okay. But like I think you only have two options. One is
Ban for life.
it's considering saying is you say nothing and just let it ride out 2 weeks and just eat all the shit for a couple of weeks. The other is trying to win the battle in the media, but you still probably have to
never win. You'll never win.
Right. So they probably are just going to have to eat a lot of shit, because if you give her you look worse.
Yeah.
Don't you look worse just giving it back on Monday?
You look like a child.
Yeah, you do.
Like, that's bad. That's why I meant, like, what even is 2 weeks? I'm not advocating for her to get a longer suspension, to be clear. It's just a weird move generally.
Well, does the 2 weeks include, so there's not a home game this week.
Right.
When is the next home game? The 23rd?
Well, the club wouldn't issue her a credential in Monterrey, and it wouldn't issue her a credential in New England unless the club's 2-week ban is league-wide because it's a single entity league.
No, right, but I don't think she would be
CONCACAF
traveling to either of these games.
No, but CONCACAF would, I think, control the credentialing in Monterrey. Could be wrong, and maybe the team could suggest a soft ban or something.
Is a 2-week ban just this game? Because, like, let's say the ban had started like Friday.
Yeah.
Did she say when it started? Because it wasn't. It wasn't.
We
today.
can assume this weekend.
Yeah, but let's say you started it last Friday.
Yeah.
If it was 2 weeks, she would have a credential back by the next home game, right?
So there's the practices where they do get to ask questions.
There's the practices, which is a miss.
Although, I mean, I would love to just show up if I were Laurel and see if you can get the police to escort you off of FCC property. That'd be such a good visual.
I mean, is the field visible from any like land that's not controlled by FC Cincinnati?
Oh, that's a good point. I don't know if FCC owns it and leases the buildings or whatever, but
I have an idea.
Drone strike.
You get the commercial drone pilot who's always spamming FC Cincinnati on Twitter to figure out where like his like public land he can stay in, and he can watch the practice from his drone, and he'll finally get his revenge on FC Cincinnati.
You can quote unquote break down on 275 with a good pair of binoculars and probably see what's going on pretty easily.
I think in all situations like this, the real thing to do is to show up with the Groucho Marx glasses on, like with the nose and the mustache, and just try to walk in.
The disguise. Chief, I want to say thank you for knowing who that disguise is. I don't know how many people know that is a Groucho Marx disguise.
So there you go. See? Maybe Groucho Marx, newest beat writer for MLS. It'd be clown show of a league. Why not?
Actually, you could say Harpo Marx is in all the press conferences, and that's why he doesn't ask any questions.
It's tough scenes.
Marx Brothers,
you know what I'm really looking
pivotal.
forward. What I'm really looking forward to is tomorrow morning when the news breaks and like she murdered someone, and that's the reason.
But again, why 2 weeks?
And like we were going in the paint defending. It's just like
You know what we really need here is we need to put her on trial, Anatomy of a Fall style. We do a French style trial. Where anyone who wants to talk just gets to jump up and start yelling accusations at people. There's like 7 judges for some reason.
Yeah. Or no, like it's the we don't have enough money to do all 26 episodes in a Star Trek season, so we're just going to put someone on trial for no reason and film it all in one room.
Love a bottle episode.
I actually, yeah. I'm pitching this: the trial of Laurel Pfahler, a post-cast project,
dramatic production.
Yeah, a post-cast production. That's it. Yeah.
Where are we going to find someone to prosecute?
If only we had access to a handful of lawyers. Didn't ESPN do a mock trial of Pete Rose some time ago?
They did, actually. I remember this. Yeah.
The best mock trial in television history is that
this is way too much mock trial talk right now. This is really not.
Martin Luther King's family did a trial on like Showtime or HBO in the 90s of James Earl Ray to show that he was a patsy.
Whoa.
That he didn't do it. And they proved that he didn't do it.
Well, I did not know about this. Now I've got something to Google
right, so
later.
Wait a minute. This is how FC Cincinnati tactically retreats. Is that they
find the real killer.
Yeah.
We got to find the real banner of Laurel's credentials.
You need to find a fall guy. So like, what was the Charlie Hatch down the hatch? We can turn. It was him all along that violated the rules. And so we mistakenly suspended Laurel's credentials. Charlie Hatch's credentials have been suspended for 2 weeks instead. Sorry, it was all one big misunderstanding.
Damn. That would be great.
What? Ban the post.
Yeah.
Yes.
We will serve Laurel's suspension.
Yeah.
Like Charles Darnay. Tis a far, far better thing we do today than we've ever done.
Trial by combat, and Laurel nominates us, and we just immediately die and get banned. This would be good.
Right. So here's the pitch to FC Cincinnati: is that we will take a suspension from being credentialed for 10 times as long as Laurel in exchange for her being reinstated. So you can either have a suspension for Laurel that lasts 2 weeks, or you can suspend the post from being credentialed for 20 weeks.
This would be fun.
20 bigger than 2.
It would give them the opportunity to look like a hard ass.
We will also
swap a quarter for 2 nickels. 2 nickels, that's 2 bigger than 1.
Mm-hmm. We will also allocute. We will admit wrongdoing on the record that the suspension was deserved.
Oh, yeah.
I'll admit to everything we ever did.
Yeah. I mean, genuinely, we had credentials at one point and no longer have them, not of our own volition. I didn't really complain that much.
We weren't really using them for anything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't really want them, to be honest.
No.
Unless
ruins our bad boy outsider status.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It'd be funny to have it like one more time as a bit. Like
nope, say the intrusive thought.
What if they gave us Laurel's credential for 2 weeks?
I'll show you how bad it really could get. Noonan, Kevin Wallace, The Post.
How dare you?
No, the only question we would ask is, Kevin Wallace, The Post Cincy, if Laurel were here today, what would you say to her right now?
Did GB bite now on the cape? I need Noonan's
What was the
answer.
song, Pat? We know you know.
Right.
What song was Ron Jans singing?
Pat might not know. Albright 100% knows.
There's tape. I want the tape.
Tommy G knows.
Ooh.
Stay woke.
If it took, give us the Miazga tape, and we may become more critical of local media.
You could buy this segment to disappear. I'm just saying. It'd cost you one Matt Miazga tape. We had a member of our Discord. I will not name them just in case this ends up in the wrong places. FOIA the Red Bull Arena for the tape, and I fucking love that.
We didn't get it.
So good. No,
because apparently
you would have known if we got it. That's some shit that wouldn't have stayed secret.
But so they figured out that there's a public like redevelopment company,
Port Authority,
the Port Authority type thing, yeah. Like the Port owns TQL Stadium, same kind of deal up in Harrison, New Jersey, and so he sent a FOIA request to that Port Authority, and got a response that while they do own the stadium, New York Red Bulls owns like all the security systems and tapes and everything, so it's not FOIA-able. So we still need someone to give us this. We don't have any money to give you, but we will betray ethical standards.
100%. We don't have credentials. They can't hurt us, baby. We can do whatever we want. They could probably suspend our tickets. Let's not enter into that conversation. Okay. I think that's going to do it for this segment. Let's move over to part 3 quickly. I just got a couple of questions we'll get through here, and you can be on with your week. All right, we've got a couple of questions. These come to us on the Patreon. Yes, part 3 is an extended ad for supporting us on Patreon. The lovely, beautiful, talented patrons there, they support us financially and emotionally, and they ask a question every month. You are entitled to asking a question when you do subscribe, so that's always fun. So we have some questions for you. And I will ask you this one. This is from Ty. What's y'all's combo for your dream coach/GM? But maybe the more interesting part, what is your absolute nightmare combo for coach/GM?
Live through it, baby.
Oh, it's a Nightcamp Yop Stom combo. That's a rough one to deal with.
If we can't use that, can I say Wayne Rooney here? Because that feels like it's been miserable everywhere he's tried his act.
It's a bad coaching act.
So here's if we have to go outside of FC Cincinnati for best worst here, worst is Claudio Reyna, Wayne Rooney.
I might nominate Alexi Lawless as worst GM. I don't know how many people, and I am strictly judging him on his GM abilities here. Say what you will about the man now. He traded away Landon Donovan. Like, it's pretty hard. He got rid of some club acts there. He did bring in David Beckham, but
he'd make FC Cincinnati great again. I don't know what you're talking about here.
Some rough looks from Alexi Lawless.
So Alexi Lawless, Jurgen Klinsmann.
Oh, that would be. They'd get along so nicely too.
What about? I mean, it might be successful, but I think I'd hate every minute of it. What if it was Greg Berhalter GM, Caleb Porter head coach?
Oh, that sounds horrific.
Yeah.
Oh, no me gusta.
I think my dream now. Wilfred Nancy, because that would mean he's not coaching in Columbus anymore.
just to take him off their payroll. I like it.
If you had to say the best of people who have never worked for FC Cincinnati,
I was going to say Chris Albright, Pat Noonan. Hey, we win.
Wouldn't it be Bezbachenko, Nancy?
Yeah,
their
two team is really good too.
I don't like this.
I don't like it either.
I'm in this photo and I don't like it.
I mean, who's the president now in Atlanta? Lagerwey.
Lagerwey.
Maybe it's Lagerwey Curtin. Maybe that would be the dream combo in MLS.
Chris Albright and Jose Mourinho. It would be the most entertaining team in the league, and it wouldn't even be close what number 2 is.
I'm probably a dumb soccer fan for this thought, but I think the top managers are only top managers because they coach top teams. I think Jurgen Klopp is like the last guy who well and truly worked his way up the career ladder. The rest of these guys just get handed jobs right out of the Premier League and then just float around that level for the rest of their careers.
I think that you're underappreciating how hard it is to like do what Pep does.
That's fair.
Like
That's
he
fair.
creates like a very like complicated, high, beautiful level of play, and it just requires like great players to pull that type of thing off. But
Right.
other coaches have been bad with like other coaches have been less successful with great players. Like
Yeah, I
you know,
tend to think
Tuchel, had was not great at like PSG.
But what's the lowest level Tuchel has been at since that? Like he's still at
He's-
top clubs and whatever else.
Right.
Like
I think to
It's
do
like-
a certain extent that once you reach that level, like 90% of your job is man management. It's just
Yeah.
getting these people that are from varying backgrounds that are all insanely wealthy, successful people to buy into whatever it is you're asking them to do.
Carlo Ancelotti is probably the best at that of like, sure, having some framework to play with, but like he's clearly just like you're a good soccer player. Go be a good soccer player. Okay. This is from John Jolly. What would you have placed the odds to TFC being the last team to concede a goal this season? Is that true? I don't think they've conceded a goal yet, which is insane. I guess the question is that surprising?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredibly surprising.
No, I would have lost a large amount of money on that wager.
Very quickly here, supporter shield plus minus. Toronto does not have a goal scored against them. That's impressive through 3 matches. Is it weird that nobody else, like no team has won 3 of 3?
I don't think it's that weird.
Not in
You don't
this
think it's
league.
that weird?
This
No.
league is purpose built for parity. It's in many ways the most impressive thing FC Cincinnati has done was not winning supporters shield. It was being as bad as it was for so long and not lucking into being better.
Like,
That's
there's
a
not
good
that much
point.
difference between the really good teams and the really bad teams in the league. Especially
Yeah.
if you can like remove, because a lot of times teams are really bad because they're just dysfunctional. Like there's just egos aren't working, or they have DPs who are just dogging it and don't give a shit. But like, like the roster spend is not that much different from team to team. You hit on your DPs. There's a lot of like interchangeable pieces between clubs. So,
Yeah.
it's tough to be really dominant.
Last question. And this is not a soccer one, thank God. Thanks to Time Travel Magic, you were able to send one very brief message, they say, give or take 5 words, to yourself at 21 years old. What do you say? This feels like a book of questions question. I like it.
Man.
I mean, the cop-out answer is like, buy stock in blank. I was going to say X, but that would actually be a really bad investment.
Right.
Buy stock in blank feels like a good one. You'd have to know
Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin.
buy Bitcoin. That's 2 words. There you go. Boom, boom. At 21.
Buy Bitcoin, sell in 2021.
I mean,
That's 5
Bitcoin's on
words.
the way back up. You're doing all
no,
right
but
if you
cash out then and then it'll knock down.
Yeah, it does always.
What year are we sending the message back to?
So whenever you are 21, so whatever
sorry.
year that is to you.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest.
I mean, you should probably do something for the good of humanity. Like, I don't know, watch out for COVID. I don't. but then the problem is, it's like I had this philosophical debate, like, this is like pot talk type stuff, where it's like, if you could send that message back to yourself, really, there's no way you could. It would almost be worse to tell yourself about something about this, because like you could like send the message back in time, like 9/11, this happens.
Right.
But then you are most likely powerless to stop this, because there is no way you're ever going to reach levels high enough and people high enough to do something about this. But then with that foreknowledge, you're forced to live the rest of your life with survivor's guilt that I knew and couldn't do anything to stop this.
That I've had that same thought experiment of like, okay, you know the knowledge of 9/11 as yourself then, which I would have been in 7th grade. I'll let people figure out the math on that as to how old I am. What could a 7th grader in Cincinnati, Ohio do? And the best I could come up with would be like calling in bomb threats to the airport or something. Like you have to attempt to do something to put the right people in the right places or something. It doesn't feel possible.
No.
I don't know.
Grayson,
there you go.
What message you sending back?
Break up with your girlfriend.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Work out more.
Yeah, it doesn't get any easier.
Right.
Lift a weight.
Yeah. Mix in a salad every now and then. You'll thank me later.
Your body only degrades from here on out. I don't know how many words that is, but I'll get that message.
So you got 5 words. It's buy Bitcoin, work out more.
What's the Reddit slogan? Hit the gym, hire a lawyer, delete Facebook. That'll probably work.
Yeah. Get good.
Yeah.
Oh wait, God. No. I have a better answer to that. So 5 words, right?
5 words.
Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. I also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so, so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati. And like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it. If you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge, huge thank you to everybody for listening to this show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening.